This is the second book in the Hyperion Canto series. For the first one, check out episode 47. Welcome to a very special episode of the Mindhack Books podcast. This time we're discussing The Fall of Hyperion, the sequel to the first book in the Hyperion Canto series. It's a 517 pages book that can only be described as poetic techno-babble insanity. I can't say anything else about it. And joining me, of course, is Paolo. How are you?
Hello.
You have to be here for the sequel.
I am sitting and wearing clothes and breathing.
Okay. And we have two very special guests from the Book Retorts podcast, Sam and Danielle. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Are you ready for a discussion about Uman, megaspheres, megaplanes, datum planes? I am not. Are you?
I am. I've been so excited all week.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's really excited. Way more excited than I was.
I was trying to jazz you up, but you're like, I just read the book and I'm not excited. I'm like, how can you not be excited from reading that?
I and Danielle read the book very recently, but Paolo and Sam read it a while back. I always say that our podcast is supposed to find your next mind-blowing book. And I think this book personally made me feel mind-violated. I don't like this.
That's too bad.
I mean, I like it and I hate it. So before we say anything, Sam, I have to take this opportunity, and I can tell this to you finally directly. This is all your fault.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Because the reason I found the first Hyperion book was your podcast. I started listening to it, and you were already at about episode 80, and you were talking about Hyperion. I was like, what is this? So I listened to the first 3 episodes, which you've covered it in 6 parts. Each part is about 1 hour and a half. Oh my god. So I listened to the first 3 or 4 episodes. I was like, what is this? Like squirts of some fat line. And I was like, what's happening?
My favorite thing.
Yeah.
The fat line squirts were a delight.
Yeah. So what's your relationship with these books? Do you love them? Is this your all-time favorite?
That's a complicated question.
Okay.
So I really do enjoy these books. I don't know if they're good books. Let me put that there right now. Like good or bad, that's sort of like, I think these books transcend that in the sense that they are so bonkers. I just really have fun reading them because it's like, you never know what's going to happen.
That's true.
Like on the next page or what crazy thing he's going to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets a little dull with some of the prose gets a little purple or you get some weird tangents, but we'll get into this, I'm sure, during the podcast. But Danielle reached out to me while she was reading it saying, send me pictures of a page of the book with Uman's writing saying, can you believe he did this? You know, why would anybody do this? I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. He committed to doing this thing. The thing of like writing in Zen koans for pages while exposition dumping. And I don't know, I don't know if it's good, but I respect the commitment, and it's just like it's a real adventure to read, I feel.
That's true. That's true. I was not bored at any point, I have to say.
That's it. Like again, I don't know if they're good or bad is I think 2 simple terms. I do enjoy them, maybe not for the reasons the author intended, but that's not for me to say.
I just needed to clarify if you're a hardcore fan, so I think we cleared it up.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say I'm like, these books are life-changing and are going to lock the secret to the universe or anything that, but I certainly have fun with them the same way I have fun with crazy, weird movies or things like that.
Of course. Yeah, in that sense, I absolutely agree. What's your take, Danielle? Do you like this?
Well, it's the only one I've read because I did not read the original Hyperion
actually.
because Sam just explained it to me in epic detail. I didn't feel like I needed to. I think I kind of agree with Sam. Like, it's so crazy. It's fun to see what's coming up next. I read it in like 2 days, so it's a quick read. I kind of binged it. But it's rough, that purple prose, like you said. I have a hard time sometimes when I'm reading that. Like, none of these details are necessary, Mr. Simmons. None of them.
Exactly.
what is necessary? They're all world building. Like, where's the line between world building and just showing off? It's great.
Yeah, some of the parts are just completely out of place. Like, I remember they were describing some kind of apocalyptic, everything is exploding, and then they describe like a whole side plot of a random character we've never seen, how she gets sucked out of the window or something. Remember that part? It's like, what? I just want this book to end. Stop it.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell us your opinion then, Philip and Paolo? You know, we've shared our feelings.
I mean, I understand if you put it as just more of a not particularly smart but entertaining. It has some value, but I disagree in it's never boring. I think there are a lot of boring sequences.
Oh, okay.
Especially one involving carriage and traveling through Rome's countryside.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, actually. I don't disagree that it's boring sometimes. I think that's true.
Yeah, besides that, I think I've been kind of spoiled because I've been reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson, and I just have learned to appreciate more world building when it's done in a coherent and cohesive way. And this is the exact opposite. Like, nothing really makes sense. And I mean, I've talked about this also in the first episode, but it basically just Simmons saying, oh yeah, these are the things I like, and so I'm just putting them even though they don't make any sense. So here's a city which looks like Indiana in the 20th century, even though we are in the 29th century and on a completely different planet. Like, makes sense? No. But he likes it, so he put it, and yeah, I just don't like that.
You know what? I understand what you're saying. I kind of love that's this weirdly idiosyncratic, very deeply, it feels deeply personal, like you're like a window into Dan Simmons, like you said, the things he likes. It feels, I mean, I don't want to say voyeuristic almost, but it does feel like very much like, oh, this is his perspective. And again, it's a very, Western-centric perspective and all that, of course. But I don't know, just again, I just have a lot of fun, like going like, this is just one weird guy's, putting everything out there. And, much like, say, Plan 9 from Outer Space or something like that, like, you just got to respect, for me at least, the effort of committing wholeheartedly to something, even if it's a folly. I think there are some genuinely interesting ideas in the book.
Yes, that's my biggest problem, why I feel violated, because I genuinely enjoy and love some ideas, and then I lose all respect for the writer immediately when he says something after that.
I mean, I'm kind of a masochist. I love that. I love it. Like I told you, if you listen to the podcast, we talk about the ending of the last book, where they all dance off singing "We're Off to See the Wizard."
Yes,
and you hated that.
Oh my God.
Me too.
Laughed so much at that. That's the kind of thing that's like, if I was writing a book, that's a kind of like, I'm going to piss someone off by doing this. Like, I would do that just to be a jerk. And I respect, like, game recognized game to Dan Simmons for doing that.
No, I mean, I can respect that. Like, I agree. Not pandering to your audience and just doing what you think is just fun and experimenting with whatever you want to do. That's perfectly fine. I still don't like it.
Totally fair. I was say, people ask, like, would you recommend this book? Danielle, what did you, like, would you tell this to your friends, hey, you should read these books?
If this friend was you, then yes.
Okay. See, that's what I mean. Like, it's a very qualified statement because it's the kind of book where there's a certain kind of person who's going to enjoy these books.
I said on the previous episode I would recommend it to myself, but not others with my friends.
It's a real hard one.
So before we get deep and get our hands dirty with all this Hyperion stuff, I wanted to introduce you more properly. I wanted to say that you've already done 129 episodes on the Book Retorts podcast, which is an achievement.
Good job,
Congratulations.
Sam.
Good job, Danielle.
I've listened to a lot of them. I wanted to say that I got instantly hooked listening to our very first episode a long time ago, The Gods Themselves by Isaac Asimov. I had no idea that Isaac Asimov ever described sexual intercourse like complicatedly described with alien species.
He went through a 3-body problem of sexual...
Yes, literal 3-body problem.
Yeah, I remember you were completely shocked about it, and at work you were like, do you know this book about Asimov? And like, there is this thing, and you were so puzzled by it.
Yeah, because to me, Isaac Asimov was always the most like dry, hard sci-fi, no nonsense. What happened? So check out episode 1 from Book Retorts.
Only episode 1.
Our best
Our
one,
first episode,
apparently.
yeah. The first episodes were the roughest, we feel.
No, it was a lot of fun, I think. My favorite has to be the crabs series,
Woo.
like
Yeah.
crab facts. I want to commend you for that.
One
So
for
I would highly
Danielle.
recommend the listeners to listen to the what is it, Night or Day of the Crabs or Crab Moon? Is it?
Night of the
Both.
Crab Killer Crabs.
Both.
What are they?
Well, there's Night of the Crabs, right? And then there's Crab's Moon. That was the sequel.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you know the name of the books that I did, Sam. Thank you.
Well, someone has to remember the names of the books we do, Danielle.
Yes, not me.
So you covered 2 of the books, so I implore you and beg you, please continue. I love that. If you have the energy.
They're
so hard to
find.
find.
Yeah, they're so expensive.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're
Can't you
like
just have a
rarities.
digital version?
No, that doesn't exist anywhere online or like.
I shall take this upon myself, find them, and send them to you.
Please do.
If you do that, we will do them 100%.
Okay. Challenge accepted. All right. Is there any particular episode you'd like to, like, if nobody listens to a podcast, would you recommend a single episode to start with?
You don't have to at the beginning. We do have some running gags that come in and out. Not necessary to like figure things out. You don't need to know anything going into every episode. You can just sort of pick the things you find most interesting, I feel. Oddly, some of our most popular episodes are Cinderella 3. Twisted Time. Yeah.
For reasons. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a weird movie, so the Cinderella story continues.
I should listen to that one.
And it depends on when this episode drops, but we'll actually have the fall Endymion, the next
Oh,
book
no.
in the Hyperion
Yeah.
series.
Okay.
So
That was my reaction too, Philip.
So just a little plug there. If you're into all this Hyperion talk and you want to see where it goes next, check us out.
That's my final recommendation. If you want Hyperion in depth, in a understandable manner, everything explained,
Understandable.
very professional.
Yeah.
everything
Don't listen to
talked
us.
about, discussed, all the questions answered. Don't listen to us. Go to Book Retorts. They have done 6 episodes on the first book, 7 episodes on the second book. It's like 20 hours of content, right?
Yeah.
So much.
Oh my goodness.
There's a lot, and the problem is these books have a lot in them, as we know, and it's never clear, and I never remember what is important and what isn't important, because like the randomest things come back. Like Melio Arundes keeps coming back from the first book. Yep, pops up everywhere. And then some things just never come up again, and I never remember what it is, so I feel the obligation to mention everything just in case it comes back up again.
Yeah. Good luck with that. So you have read all 4
Yes.
books in the Hyperion series. Does it get better? Is the question I have to ask.
Okay, so this is the problem. I first read the entire series about 10 years ago, and I've been rereading these books for the podcast, so I've only gotten about a part of the way through Endymion now, the 3rd book. So I don't remember how the last book ends. I don't think it's like a neat and tidy little bow. I think it's it's not going to be everything is wrapped up, all the questions are answered, and humanity is saved, and there's no more mystery in the universe. I think there is room for that left over. But the next 2 books are more like this one in that there is a narrative through line.
Thank God.
And so Endymion and the Fall of Endymion followed the same characters through both books. It doesn't get less weird.
That's
It
good, I
doesn't
guess.
get less purple prosy. In fact, it gets more weird,
Of
and
course.
there's a lot more religion. It gets weird in all different ways. So it's like it's a hard right
okay.
turn into new weird. So it's not, at least it's not boring. It's not the same weird.
Okay. So he still has the power and inventiveness to
Yeah.
make up new concepts in the sequels.
Yeah.
Right. So my one more question I want to ask all of you is: this second book, do you like it more? Did you have a better time with it than the first book? I did.
I did.
I didn't. I think it was much worse. I enjoyed much less, probably like about 50%. Like I was double as much frustrated, and I think the enjoyable points and enjoyable ideas completely plummeted.
You were so angry about that. I will never forget Paolo saying, like, I've read 4 books by Dan Simmons. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it.
I haven't read anything else by him.
Okay.
So.
Well, I mean, if going back to what you were saying earlier about just dumb entertainment and just cool ideas that might not go anywhere, I definitely recommend Ilium. Yeah, less Olympus.
Ilium, okay.
Although, like, if you read the first one, might as well read the second. But
Might as well read the rest of the Hyperion Cantos books then too. You've already halfway
I already
through.
read the story. I just gave up and I just went and read like a summary of the plot because I don't want to read the books.
Okay.
Which the summary of the plot, by the way, might not be true, so you might not have been spoiled because I checked some summaries and people are saying very different things. And especially the second book is very messed up.
I don't know.
That's so perfect. I
really love that,
yeah, that the lore of people trying to summarize this book
Yes.
is as confusing as the book itself.
I read like 10 summaries, and one of them was very in-depth on Reddit, and the comments were like, oh, you might not have read this book at all. And the guy was like, no, I read it 3 times. And the guy was like, oh, chapter 5, line 7,
But
so
I
let me
see
read
that
it the
about like
first time.
honestly, I see that about every book. Like people are always like arguing about super small details and being like, oh, you misinterpreted this and blah, blah, blah.
If you want to check like the summary, I don't know where you found it,
Just on Wikipedia.
but the Wikipedia is very shortened and doesn't really say much.
But it's enough. Like, trust me, it's more than enough. Like,
I'm done.
That's it. That's all I need.
I get it. So I have to say I noticed a very suspicious fact when I was reading it on my Kindle. I always do digital books. I don't have any paper books. And there is a line on the bottom of the Kindle and it shows chapters like dots. And there is like a progression bar, how many percent you read of the book. And the first half of the book, there is a very dense field of dots. All the chapters are so short. And then after the halfway point, the chapters are maybe 5 or 10 times longer. And the dots spread out very far. And I knew something was up. And I asked Paolo, should I be worried about the second half of the book? And Paolo said yes. And then I got to the half of the book. And it seemed to me as if the writer was writing like a well-paced. I was kind of into it. Like I like the Pilgrims switching with CEO Gladstone. I like the war like fights and all this. And it was kind of understandably going somewhere. And then something happened in halfway through the book and it just completely went to hell. And I feel like as if Dan Simmons just realized, oh, wait a minute, I've been writing like a normal book. It was easy to follow. And there were just 2 storylines. Wait a minute. Let me completely cut up all the chapters in pieces, shove them into longer chapters so you can understand it. Let me split this long Shrike fight into like 700 parts and make it so convoluted and so difficult to understand that you will not make any sense out of it at all. And then you just read Umam and that's it. And I think it was literally his realization when he was writing. He was like, oh wait, this book is not special enough. That wouldn't fly. I have to make this Simmons book. It wasn't a Simmons book yet.
Yeah, I feel like this book is just a hodgepodge of other concepts.
Yes.
Like this feels very much like, hey, do you like genres? Why not have all of them?
Exactly. That was also like Philip's problem with the first book.
I had it so much. I was reading more interviews with Dan Simmons and I found some comments from him and he basically said, some writers, they specialize in one genre and they are really good at it and they're really good at writing sci-fi. I'd like to let you know that I have studied writing more than one genre and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of willpower and a lot of dedication and I have studied all these genres. And I'd like to let you know that I can write not only noir and sci-fi, I can also write horror and poetry. And I'd like to show that to my readers who are not dumb. And if my readers cannot appreciate that and cannot see all the references to 15th century poetry, well, they can still read it, but I can't tell them that they will enjoy it for the full extension of what I intended. I was like, you just...
That sounds like the man who wrote the character Martin Salinas.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly. I mean, more than that, like it sounds like the man who made like Keats as a basically savior of the universe.
No. The father of the savior of the universe. Let's be clear.
He wasn't content with having only one Keats character, and he decided like, oh, why not have 2? Like I love him so much. Like,
why not have 3? Why not have all of them?
I loved every time I brought a new Keats into the story. I was like, Danielle, guess who this is?
So many Keats. Never ending.
Did you see on the Japanese book cover, when you put the covers together, in the middle there is a giant face of Keats?
Yeah.
I did not notice that.
I didn't notice that.
Because it's the back and front. And if you put them next to each other, in the middle there's a giant blue godlike face of Keats.
Oh, wow, I can see it. Gosh. You guys have the better covers over there. Our covers are they're fine. But as I told Danielle about the first book, they didn't draw the Shrike with 4 arms on the cover. I'm so angry.
Yeah, what the hell? I was looking at that. Like, did the guy read it? Speaking of the Shrike, I need to tell you one last tidbit about Dan Simmons I found.
Please.
In the interview, they asked him, about art and like sculptures and stuff. And he was like, excuse me, I also dabble into art and sculpture. And I have tasked my friend who's a super successful sculpturist.
Sculptor.
This is hard language, Danielle.
Together, or maybe not together, but the guy has designed an aluminum cast that's 8 feet 6 inches tall of the Shrike.
I need this.
And I have this in front of my house on my porch.
Yeah.
And
where does he live? I'm stealing that statue.
No, you don't. Trust me, you don't want this. I'll send you a picture right now on Discord.
Okay.
This is one of the worst looking things I've ever seen in my life. Like, imagine...
Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, boy.
Like, you imagine the Shrike, like this amazing... You just said 4 arms.
Yeah.
4 arms, goddammit. Well, how is this so difficult?
That's so hard for people. I like to think that his sculptor friend was like, Dan Simmons went to him and said, hey, can you make a cast of my really cool character called the Shrike? You've read my book, right? It's like, yeah, I've totally read your book. I'm your friend. It was great. I loved it. Now I'll make you that sculpture. And he's like, I guess I'll figure this out. And he like never read the book and just made it up.
For the listeners, the Shrike statue's face looks like if you had 2 Terminator faces with a raccoon snout smooshed together. That's how it...
I think it's perfect for this book. It's
so
so off-putting. Yeah. I mean, it needs the extra arms, but it kind of is like, I love that it is janky and isn't quite right and isn't like even accurate to the lore. It's so perfect. I love it.
I hate it so much. When I saw that, I died. After I read him talking about how he's good at writing so many genres into one book, and then he said, "Oh, I have this at home." I was like, "Oh, okay." Well,
amazing.
Yeah. So before we get into the plot, why do people love this book so much? Like at the start of this book, aside from the dedication to Mr. Keats, of course, there is like a list of reviews from the Times magazine and from Denver Post, and they all praise it to high heaven.
Are those accurate or are those just like excerpts that they cut up?
Like the New York Times is abridged, it's a little bit shortened, so it's suspicious. The New York Times says, generously conceived and stylistically sure-handed, ... and unfailingly inventive narrative that bears comparison with such classics as Isaac Asimov Foundation or Frank Herbert's Dune.
Which is the worst thing anyone has ever said about Dune.
Exactly my point.
I don't know. I mean, Dune is very weird. If like you get into the later books where like he turns into a sandworm, like his son, like Dune gets weird. Let's not like be like So what is the difference? Like this is just me asking you. Like I'm not defending one of them, but like why is Dune being weird and gross different?
Well, let me tell you in the next 10 hours. But
I can give you a very simple. I can give you a very simple answer.
This not
is that,
great.
Like Dune is weird and it's complex and it tries to tackle a lot of complicated questions from a very strange perspective. But the thing is that Dune is written with a purpose, and the purpose is pretty clear and simple if you think about it in each story. Of course, it evolves in a strange way, and it's sometimes overly complicated, especially in the 4th book. But if you want to summarize what the book is about and what the author wants to present, it's very, very easy in each book. In these 2 books, like there is absolutely no purpose, and like it's really hard to tell like what the author was thinking. Like what was his idea of? Okay, this is what this character stands for. This is what serves like in the broad story, like to represent something. That I think that's the main point. Like Dune was weird in the contents, but it was never unclear in the purpose.
I have to agree with that, yes. Also the details and side things. The Dune side things are weird, but they always have depth, and if you ignore them, you don't feel like you missed something or you don't feel confused. Like it always comes back together in an understandable way. Like everything is explained and it comes together in a way that is clear. And there is nothing left behind, like the loose ends are not there. I think that's the big difference. Yeah, check out episode 50, please, of our podcast.
Yeah. I think that's very fair. I don't think necessarily a story needs a purpose, though.
Okay.
which is the thing. But I don't read it with that perspective. I mean, Dan, what do you think?
This is hard because I know that you're going to continue the story, so I'm going to hear the rest of it. And so I think a lot of times in my head, I'm going, okay, this is probably going to end up being resolved at some point or going somewhere. I don't fully believe that will happen. I have no faith in the author that anything's going to get resolved. But I'm like, I read it with a lot of hope that it'll be resolved. And so I'm willing to forgive things that I wouldn't necessarily be willing to. If this were just the 2 books, if there were not 2 others after this, I think I'd be frustrated because there's so much that's not tied into the actual plot.
I think this is the kind of book you read almost as a spectacle.
In that way, it's very spectacular.
Yes. Like I said, I always have fun being like, oh, this is the crazy thing we're doing now. This is like Uman talking. Oh, the Earth was stolen? Sure, why not? Like that whole thing. I think it has a patina of like depth and cleverness to it. Like it talks all about these, famous poets and famous art. You can make it deeper than it seemed by like thinking about you can connect all the lines, you can read between the lines. People can find a way to turn it into what they want. It's almost like an ink blot in that way, where you can see the kind of like the depth you want to see in the story.
I think that's a very good point. But I would say this, in that sense, the first book was more like that. Like the first book was actually clever in certain points. Like
That's fair.
I think it was really interesting and really smart. In the second one, I think it's much more trashy, but without the self-awareness that it is.
Right. We want to get into the plot a bit. Like my favorite parts of the second book are the sort of grander plot elements that he actually has time to expand on. If you take a step back at the macro perspective, I find that plot to be very interesting. I find it to be like, that's very compelling science fiction to me, is like our relationship with technology and what happens if we become too reliant. And this is a very generous interpretation for Mr. Simmons about this, but the whole point of the hegemony is they are stagnant. They haven't advanced in their culture, which is why everything is referenced back to old poets and older stuff. They have no new music, no new stories, because they are stagnant, because they have offloaded all of their creativity, all of their drive to innovate to the AI. And the AIs are the ones who are innovating, and the hegemony is all about opulence and luxury and laziness, and not about innovation or driving forward, which is why it has to be destroyed, which is why Mina Gladstone's like, we got to destroy it, and that propels humanity in the next books to innovate again.
Which is also a Dune reference, by the way. Anyway, I completely agree that the whole perspective on what progress is, and you mentioned like how relying so much on technology might end up stagnating to real culture. This is probably, to me, the best part of the book. My only point about this, which kind of like relates to some of the worst parts of the books, which Philip has already alluded to, is I think he has a basic misunderstanding, at least for me, of how to portray AIs and a technological sort of overlord. Because in the end, the AIs, they are basically just super powerful humans. They don't act or think as machines, or only sometimes. Like the whole idea that their main goal is to predict everything, and the fact that they can predict something kind of like puts fear into them. Like that's cool, and I can buy into that. But then the fact that they're split into factions and they fight, and like the way like Uman basically says that there is like some they are grateful to humans or things like that. Like do you understand that these are machines?
Well, that's a good question. So this is a question that like I would have to ask, and I think it's a question we're grappling with pretty much right now, is like, if we are the ones creating, if you want, in our image, this AI in our image, would you expect the AI to not be very much like us in many ways?
This is one point that I argued in the first episode, we talked about the first book. Yes, at first, and then not at all, because the AIs have a completely different timeline, and they even say that we live in snail space, basically. We live in slow time. So their perspective is completely different in a few minutes. So, no, I don't like it.
Fair enough. That's totally fair.
But you're already discussing the plot, so let's switch to our spoiler section. Before we do, I want to say to the listeners, I am jealous of Danielle's experience. I feel like if you didn't read the first book, listened to our podcast to be very, very shortly informed what it is, or listen to much better Book Retorts in-depth explanation what the first book is, and then read the second book and knew what you were getting into, I think I would have actually enjoyed it a lot. So if this sounds intriguing, I'd recommend it to you. Like if you're a fan of creatively, insanely weird sci-fi and you don't mind all these like nonsensical storylines that don't go anywhere, then I would actually recommend this. If you don't want to read this and you want to know what this is all about, so tune in for our spoiler section and feel free to leave at any point, including the people on this podcast. I apologize to you in advance. I have a lot of questions for Sam and Danielle and Paolo.
Uh-oh.
And I feel like this is going to get out of hand very quickly. So try.
I want to say I really appreciate that while we're having this discussion, we have a full spectrum of reaction to this book here. Yeah. We have Paolo, which is adamantly opposed. And we have Philip and Danielle, which are both somewhere in the middle. And me, who enjoys this book for very weird and idiosyncratic reasons. So I want to say I'm really excited to have that full reaction on display.
Yeah, if you listened to our or Sam's podcast, I think you kind of know who you are now because you know us. So you can guess very accurately what you would think about this book. So I'll try to sum up the first half of the book very quickly, which is the part that's easy to follow. And then Shrek will hit the fan and stuff. To recap the first book, very simply, for people who are not sure what happened in the first book, there is a planet called Hyperion. There are 7 pilgrims going there for reasons we find out about from them telling a story. I'll just tell you very quickly who these people are, just in case you forgot. There is Father Hoyt, which is an immortal priest who's got a weird parasite and keeps resurrecting himself. There's Colonel Kassad, who is a 90s action superhero. There's Paulette Silenus, who is a setter. Bastard
he's a
setter
human.
He becomes the setter.
Yeah, he briefly has cosmetic surgery to become a satyr while he's having his hedonistic period.
He's spewing poetry left and right. Complete bastard. Hate him so much. There's Saul Weintraub. He's the father of a child who's aging backwards. Her name's Rachel. All he cares about is his child. Bron Lamia is a super horny muscular man-woman who will have sex with anybody in any space, be it cyberspace, real space, or any space. Maybe. Not so much, but she's so horny and she's not really a woman at all. I hate her so much too.
Yeah, that's true.
In this book especially, I hate Lamia. She's so dumb. Oh my goodness. Talk about it. And Console, the supposedly main character of the first book, is not really a character. It's just a guy who wants to betray the hegemony in the name of ecology.
And then the name of
goes
revenge.
Down because he betrayed everybody. And revenge and all kinds of save the animals also and such.
Yeah, this book is weirdly, it has out of nowhere a very much an ecological message to a Captain Planet kind of message in the series story from the first book. Which again, great, why not? Throw that in there too. Make the stew thicker.
And we've skipped the Hetmastine, who is a Templar, who is basically not there at all in the story in the first book.
And also in the second.
Or the second.
Yeah, but for sure the second book will explain who the Templars are and, you know, why they are special and what they believe in. Except they don't.
But unquestionably, Hetmastine, my favorite pilgrim, because he has the best plan. I think his plan is my favorite plan of all the pilgrims. His reason for traveling to Hyperion is the most insane. I'm sure Danielle and I will
I think he has the best name.
Love this plan.
Okay. So we follow in the second book 2 storylines at first, and one of them is these pilgrims on Hyperion, and finally they go to the time tombs and things happen and they all meet the Shrike and stuff happens. I was so happy. And then the other timeline is CEO Gladstone talking to Joseph Severn, who, how Sam mentioned, is John Keats again.
Don't ask questions, just accept that he's Keats.
And they have this discussion about the invasion on Hyperion by the Ousters, and they keep strategizing about the war, and things get worse and stuff. So I'll try to sum up very, very shortly what happens to each of these people in the first half of this book, and then we'll talk about the rest of the book, which will be a complete mess. So, so Father Hoyt gets killed immediately, and meets the Shrike in the time tube, gets sliced up, and then everybody freaks out because he gets resurrected with the parasites. He's wearing 2 of them, the cruciforms, and he gets resurrected as a different guy, Father Duray, and then the Shrike
Lamia
appears.
wants to fuck him.
Oh my god. Lamia wants to fuck everybody. Whatever. The Shrike appears again and takes out the cruciform out of Juray's body, thus making him finally get his wish to die eventually. And when he dies, he's going to be resurrected again to become Hoyt again because the other parasite is still in his body. That kind of makes sense so far. Okay, let's stop there for now.
Makes perfect sense. I know what you're talking about.
Well, you can follow this. So I could follow what happened until this point.
That's much later.
Then he becomes the Pope, but whatever. I don't know why. So
Because he's the best. Who wouldn't make him the Pope? The Shrike chose him for popehood.
Okay, I guess I might as well talk about this right now. So, out of nowhere, he's completely brain dead because he got resurrected, and every time he gets resurrected, he's like worse. And he should have already been completely brain dead because he got resurrected 1,000,000 times because he was impaled on the fucking cruciform. He was crucified himself on the Tesla tree, and he kept dying and dying. He should have been completely brain mush. And people in the church are like, oh, okay, so he's the best. That's okay.
Yeah.
The Pope is a big figure in the latter books, I'll tell you that much.
That was what I was thinking. Okay. So next, the consul decides that, or the pilgrims decide that they want to save Rachel, the backwards aging baby who's so young that is going to reverse into nothingness or die out of young age or whatever you want to call that.
The Merlin sickness.
So they want to put her in this thing called the fugue, which is some kind of stasis on the consul's ship. Whatever. The consul needs the ship, so he goes to get his ship on the flying carpet. And he crashes,
this is
and
much
ensues, and he meets the Ulsters. Whatever, we'll get into it later. yes. I'm just saying, like, each character, what they do. Martin Silenus gets impaled on a spike on the tree of pain.
Yeah, he does.
Amazing, I love it.
Now, before that, there is something more important that is like it goes back to the City of Poets and basically starts writing the story and basically starts predicting the future.
He's channeling the muse that is the Shrike.
Then he gets impaled.
Yes.
And then he gets out of impaledness by sheer amount of poetry.
Kind of. Although, we'll get to it in the second half, but no one's really impaled.
Yeah. It's just Matrix, but...
Yeah, what the hell? Oh my god. I was so sad.
I love it.
I was so happy that do you know Schadenfreude from German?
Yeah.
I was having so much of that. I hate him so much, and I was like, yes, suffer, you bastard. And then he was impaled, and he was like, oh, pain is poetry. Let me...
And he was reciting poetry to try to resist the pain. Whatever.
Next character. So Lamia, Bron Lamia. She is also meets the Shrike.
No, but okay. Can I say something? Because before this, like she had to go back to the hotel to get supplies, basically. And when she's coming down, someone is trying to kill her, but it's never revealed who that was and why that was.
Oh, I forgot that part. Okay.
Yeah, the rocks fall, and someone was clearly trying to kill her. And when she was in the hotel, she kind of like understood that there was someone. Who was it? Why? Yeah, never, ever revealed. Why was this there?
There are so many things like this, I gave up.
I do love that Braun, if I remember this correctly, it's been a while, she saw a door that led downstairs, and there's like noise or like light coming from that door, and she's like, I could go down and investigate, like every character in a horror movie. Yeah. Nope, I'm just going to leave. And just leaves and never goes down that door. And I was like, great, perfect. That's the right decision.
That was really good. And then she goes down and someone is throwing rocks at her. But who was it?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was like just a natural phenomenon from the ousters bombing the planet. God. Who knows?
It might have been a cyber ghost or something, whatever.
Earthquake.
Someone recited poetry too strong, and like it shook the crust of the planet.
That must be it.
So the Shrike meets her, and he like sticks a spike into her neck or something, and connects her to the cyberspace.
He connects to like the port that her boyfriend installed into her without her consent.
Yeah.
Just put the yeah.
Exactly. And it is called the Shran Loop Shunt or some
Loop.
shit.
Yeah.
So, of course, she's reunited with Johnny. What a surprise. We were not expecting that at all. And they go to meet this character called Uman, which we have a talk about in depth in the next part.
You're shaking your head, Danielle. Why are you shaking your head at
Yeah,
Uman?
I hate Uman.
I have to talk about Uman. I can't wait to talk about Uman. But we'll talk about it later. Hold off for now. And so Uman kills Johnny, and for reasons
That's
to discuss.
great.
And Lamia is pregnant. I was waiting for this moment. Of course, she's pregnant.
Oh,
As
yeah.
the one girl in that group. I
And
mean, it was
she's not a
guaranteed.
woman at all. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Simmons
She-
has not a good track record writing female characters. I'm going to put that out there.
So Kassad meets Moneta, of course. Immediately they have sex. He's raped. He likes it a lot.
Well, first they fight, like for some reason,
Yeah.
some unclear reason, they fight.
Well, Kassad is like, she's the Shrike, and he has a major vendetta against the Shrike. And
Yes.
so she's working, so they
Yeah.
fight. That's why he's fighting her, because he's like, she is Shrike. But then they're like, yeah, but sex is better than fighting, so I guess I'm over my whole murder thing now.
I have a big problem with the character, like, relatability. I don't relate with any of these characters, with any of these books. And I have a very hard time having any feelings about any of them. And the only feelings I get for any of these characters is being weirded out by sex kinks. Like, in the first book, it felt so strange how they kept, like, rolling around in blood and, like, having sex in it and then being impaled during it. And here, it was so weird to be raped and like it after a fight in a skin suit with a Shrike lady. I was so weirded out. I don't like it. The feeling, this was the only feeling this book gave me, like, as far as relating to a character. I was like, what? Okay, whatever, I'm ranting.
If I was trying to BS my way through a high school essay on this book, I would say something like Kassad represents humanity's aggression and violent tendencies, and therefore he's only driven by the two most animalistic impulses of humanity, which are violence and sex. And I would get a C on that paper.
Okay.
B minus, Sam. B minus.
Oh, okay, excellent. All right, that's all I need.
So Kassad gets a super suit, skin suit. Everybody's even sexier in this skin suit. They can merge together and have sex inside of it. Then they fight the Shrike. They shift through time while fighting. And thousands of Shrikes and whatever, we'll talk about it later. And then Hetmastine appears out of nowhere and
Explains
dies.
nothing.
Explains his plan and dies.
Yes. No, he explains his plan.
Yeah,
His amazing, genius
I think he
plan.
explained just a little. It wasn't like later the head of the Templars who explained it to Father Dure. I think Hetmastine just said like a few words and then he's like, oh, I'm about to die, and then he dies.
Yeah. I wrote in my notes the most stereotypical death in storytelling. Like, oh, I know the secret.
I may have in my head rearranged things so that story was all in one place. Instead of being
Or
split
maybe you
across
wanted to
different
give
parts of the
more
book.
dialogue lines to Hetmastine, which is completely fair.
He's so the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's underused.
It was deeply disappointing, his character.
Yes.
So then we have the last character, Saul Weintraub. Does basically nothing. We forget about him. And then at the end of the book, the writer's like, oh, did you forget Saul Weintraub? Oh, let me have him read you poetry. Do you know this guy Yeats? He's also a poet and we'll read you some of his poems. Fucking hell. So whatever, he gives Rachel to the Shrike because Rachel asks for it. And yeah, the Shrike takes the baby.
It tries to. It is foiled by nonsense, but we'll get to that.
So meanwhile, while this is going on, the Austers are attacking, then the Austers start attacking the World Web, and Gladstone freaks out, and fights ensue, and war starts, and everybody's freaking out. Meanwhile, the main character in this storyline, Joseph Severin, is asked at the beginning of the book, do you still write poetry? And I was like, oh no. And then he says, I dream poetry. I dream in verses. I was like, oh, fuck. So he is somehow connected to this shred, loop, shunt, whatever it is, to bronze lamia implant.
That's what he thinks, but it's not true.
No.
Yeah.
Because he is dreaming about other people besides Braun. Like, he's somehow omnipotent.
He sees everything. He's omnipotent.
He is like just dreaming through the datum sphere. That's everybody. It's crazy.
And he travels to different planets for reasons we don't have to discuss. And Gladstone also like teleports all over the place using her personal Farcaster. Everybody teleports all over the place so much in this book. It's like Rick and Morty with the portal gun. I was like, what's happening? And also, I didn't know the Farcaster is exactly a Stargate. Like they describe, it looks exactly like a Stargate. They say the surface of the Farcaster is like a reflective fluid-like thing, and you just submerge yourself into it. It's exactly the Stargate. The description.
I think that's an optional thing. 'Cause I think some of them, they have them see-through, like the ones that connect the
or like
Grand
the river.
Concourse and the
that's my question.
River Tethys. Yeah.
What is this size of this machine?
There are a lot of different sizes.
I think they're arbitrarily sized portals.
So does C.O. Gladstone have this in her pocket?
I think the way it works, and again, a lot of has to be extrapolated from very little information that Dan Simmons provides. There is this singularity in orbit that they have to build, like they build on Maui Covenant, that powers the Farcaster. So that's the actual thing.
That's clear.
And all the doors are just a connection to that. So she has a device that can create that connection in her, like she has doorways in her office that can connect it and go anywhere.
So she has the portal gun. She has like a button
No,
thing
I
that
think it's
opens
just a
the door.
doorway in her office that you can go through.
No.
So that is a stable door, like
yeah,
stationary.
and also the difference is like when you try to enter a portal, you have to put a code, and based on who you are and the code you have options on where you can go. Yeah, so she can go anywhere she wants. It's just that there are doors everywhere, so any door she can use any door she wants to go anywhere she wants.
Yeah, you could appear on any block in the city just because there are
Yeah.
Okay.
If you remember, Silenus in the first book said that he had a house where like every room was on a different planet.
Yeah, my favorite house.
I remember that part.
And I love the floating toilet. Can we go again? I wasn't here to discuss the first book with you guys, but there are some things I really just have to like. I
That's
really
exactly
want
where
to
my brain
on.
went.
Like the toilet in Marie.
Yes. Can we explain?
Yeah.
This is the moment of brilliance I'm
That
talking
was cool.
about that he has, where you have this house, like, oh, if we had technology, sure, why not have a house on a dozen different planets? And why not make the bathroom a raft floating on a giant infinite river or ocean? Because that sounds hellacious. It's such a good idea.
This is exactly what I meant by I love the concepts and it seems promising as this, and I completely lose any respect for the writer by saying, like, what are you doing? This is like a... Okay.
Yeah, my favorite part is that the house. The best part of Martin Salinas' whole story in that is that house.
You might be right, actually. You might be right. So this is until this point, I liked it until now. I was into it. I could follow what happened. It kind of makes sense. Things are moving forward.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan Simmons. And then I don't even know where to start then. Like, I have so many notes. I have 12 pages of notes.
Well, okay. So for the first part, can I tell you only one bad point? It is the dumb military staff. Everyone in the military is dumb and is like know-it-all. Like, oh well, I didn't know you also went to military school. Blah 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 blah. And then of course you know that they're all wrong on everything, and that all of their strategy doesn't make sense. And then Gladstone being like, oh, I know everything. And I know this is all going well, but instead of elaborating on what is actually happening, I'll just elaborate on my feelings.
See, I think
so that the readers
I think
don't
that
know.
makes sense to me because the whole point is all the military people, they rely on the Olympus Command Center and the AIs to plan all their strategy, predict like, oh, this battle has a 96% victory rate. This has this. So again, are stagnant. They're not thinking for themselves. And the reason Gladstone has any thought, because she does not trust the AIs, but she can't speak up because the AIs will kill her like they did Braun's father.
I think this makes sense. It's one of the few things that I think makes sense and is coherent. It's just that it's just so stereotypical. The head of the military that, like, you know, they don't understand anything, and then there's the young guy who's the only one who understands everything.
I forgot about him. I totally forgot about him.
He's my favorite. I didn't forget about.
Solid argument. I forgot about him.
Like Admiral Lee is like, oh, he's the only one who understood.
So I have certain plot points I need to talk about, and I don't know any good order. So please pick anything that happens next, and then you'll talk about something. I'm not sure how to do this. Okay, go on.
I think we have to I know what I want to talk about the most is Het Massing's plan. and the Templar's plan. That's what I don't care about anything. That's
Go
my
ahead.
favorite.
What is his plan?
Okay.
Danielle,
yes.
please tell us the plan.
He wants to take the tree of pain of pain, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and fly it into space.
Yes. And then he dies because he can't. What?
So
Like, why did he die?
context. The Templars
I
fly
think
tree.
that's it, Sam. That's it.
Okay. All right, I guess we're done then. We're good. No, the Templars fly giant trees through space using force field from living creatures to make them space worthy.
But why?
And because
Don't ask.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
That's true.
and so the whole point of the Templars was they are somehow in league or at least coordinating with the Shrike cult, whatever, like the Church of Final Atonement. Is that what they're called? I forget.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I keep on thinking that's what the Jehovah's Witnesses are. That's a whole different thing. That's Latter-day Saints, not Final Atonement. Sorry, don't hurt me. But they have a plan where they're going to blow up their tree ship, which he has a psychic connection to, so that he can take over as captain of the Shrike's Tree of Pain and fly it through space, dispensing atonement. Unclear why this is a plan.
exactly.
Throwing it out the
Execute.
windows of the tree.
Exactly.
What's the plan?
Get on my spikes! It's gonna hurt. It's gonna atone. Let's make it happen. I imagine like pulling up to like a planet, like everyone on board, get on the spikes.
It's definitely the most metal thing.
It's
that
so
he wants
metal.
to be the captain of a giant like tree made
Powered
of
by
spikes,
human suffering.
with people hanging. Yeah.
Put it like that, it's amazing.
I am so sad that it did not come to fruition. I wanted to like. That is my biggest disappointment of the entire series, and right now so far in those two books is that Mastine just captaining around this tree of pain, being like, I just imagine this like, I don't even think the Shrike would be a part of it. I just imagine the Shrike be like, wait, where'd my tree go? And there's Mastine like flying up, like, I got your tree, I'm out of here. He just flying up in his face.
So seriously, why did he die? Like, I don't get it. He just died because
The Shrike
he
killed
refused
him.
to go? Did Shrike kill him? But I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
they said something.
No, he died. I think he died of the Shrike just left him in the
he-
desert. and
exposure.
just
I thought they
died
said
of,
something along the
like,
lines of like
dehydration or
he
whatever.
saw the tree and he was so horrified that he
Yes.
just died or something.
I
was like, what?
think Cat Mastine had second thoughts about his
Yeah, exactly.
role.
Yeah.
So then
And
he
I
just,
don't know
okay.
if
You realize maybe it's not the smartest idea in the world.
Yeah.
Take a giant metal
I
tree.
mean, maybe
Fly
they
around the
picked the wrong
universe.
guy, because I would have done it, no question, because that'd be the no problem. You know, that'd be my dream.
Yeah.
Right. Picked the wrong guy, because he like saw this giant tree of pain. It's like, maybe it's not a good idea for me to captain this around the universe. And I think at that point the Shrike was just like done with him and left him. I don't think he died from like a broken heart or whatever, but
Right. I mean, and besides, like, he was already like the captain of a sheep tree called Yggdrasil, which was already pretty metal.
yeah. See,
So
you thought he'd be ready,
Yeah.
but I guess he wasn't quite at that next level.
Yeah, that was the least confusion and nonsense about this one, so I give it to you, Sam. This might be the best character in the series.
I just love his plan.
Definitely
I
have his
just think his plan is the most insane thing that doesn't make any sense. Like, at no point is it relevant that they want to fly the tree through space. Like, there's no legend about this.
Yeah.
There's no... It's just the Templars think this is a good idea, and they're wrong, and it never happened, and we don't know why I think it's a good idea, and that's amazing.
Okay, so what's next? Anybody got an idea? I have plenty to say, but I just wanted you to pick something because
I can tell you like the part I hated the most.
Yeah.
So when Keats 2, so Robert Severn and Gladstone's assistant, first they go to Pacem, which is like where the Pope is.
okay.
And then, well, he has like this little adventure where he has to escape from a mob for some reason. And then he goes to a library, and the library is like, oh, wow, yeah, this is so cool. Whatever. And I think the librarian was also a priest or something like that. But then somehow he gets teleported to the fake Earth where Lamia was in the first book, which we find out is actually the real Earth. We just got like teletransported to another part of the galaxy for some reason.
The Hercules cluster or something.
So they did say that. I wasn't sure they said that. So they did transport Earth to the
Okay. So the big mistake was all a fake.
Is there a sun?
I think the AIs had to get Earth away from humanity because humanity was their thought was we need to spur humanity out into the stars so they can build the Farcaster network so we can feed off of their brain energy and do it for our computation. Yeah. But they're too tethered to Earth and they're not expanding. So if we get rid of Earth, it causes the exodus. Hegira. They have the word for it. I forgot. Hegira, yes.
So the people from Earth, at the point the Earth was transported, are they dead? What happened to the people?
There was no one. They all evacuated.
Yes, the Earth was dying. Well, they knew the Earth was going to explode. They knew it was going to die. So remember how Martin Slaves was sent off by his mother? But the people who were left behind were almost certainly killed by the AIs.
Okay, skip to the point where they get to the Earth. Like, is there a sun? What is the atmosphere? Is it frozen? What the fuck? Are there buildings? Are there people on this planet? What's happening?
Yeah, there are buildings and there are no people. And like there are
animals,
robots, I guess, because like there are horses.
Who put them there?
And TV.
And like
TV. There's TV there too. Good point, Danielle.
Yes, very good point.
And for some reason, and there are like fields and like cultivated fields and stuff.
But why? Like, what does the AI care?
Did the animals cultivate them? Who cultivated the fields?
But they don't need the Earth.
The androids? I don't know.
Why would they need the Earth? Okay, whatever. Useless questions I have.
Yes.
No, I mean it's a very good question because like there are these unsufferable chapters of just the two of them just going through the countryside in Rome and then reaching Rome, and he's getting tuberculosis for some reason.
Not for some reason.
Because Keats had tuberculosis, so we have to have
Yeah, but why? Like, okay, so.
Look, the AIs need to recreate as many Keatses as possible for reasons. Yeah. So maybe the AIs just really love poetry, and they're trying to understand the creative process, and maybe you need death to spur creativity.
And they are recreating poetry in real life by having him die, obviously. Duh.
Yeah, it's exactly.
And the Shrike is like guarding him.
Yeah, the Shrike likes to watch, of course, when people die of tuberculosis.
Yeah, the Shrike is there.
Like to watch a lot.
That's his thing.
And this was so long and so boring, and it's just like, well, if he has to die, just make him die in like 3 pages. I don't need to hear a description.
No, that wouldn't be poetry.
You had to do the whole thing, and they had to do the whole funeral service, and march him out there, and Lee had to carve the name on the headstone and put the epitaph on there.
Okay, I think I can't wait anymore. Let's talk about Uman and AI.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Uman.
Yeah.
Those are your reactions.
So
what a lunatic Uman is. What an absolute legend.
I texted Sam during this part. Obviously, he said that with a picture, and I genuinely almost went back to our podcast of this like episode during this so I could just listen to his summary of what Uman said, because I was like, I'm not reading 8 pages of this. It's not happening.
So did you like reading Uman's talking?
No.
I liked it. I have to say it. I liked it.
I
skimmed the heck out of it.
I enjoyed Uman for his absolute like nonsense that he is. I really love let's just take a giant chunk and put all the motivations. We're gonna spell it out for you, but it'd be too easy if I just told you about it. I'm gonna hide it all in Zen koans just to make everything more like. Yes, give me if the book was 90% more insanity, let's just do that.
So to explain what's happening, the AI Technocore datum plane, whatever the hell, cyberspace, has this AI, and the AI hive mind is Uman, right? Is that correct?
He's one of the older, ancient, powerful AIs.
Yeah.
So that's where Bron Lamia and Johnny they connect into this cyberspace and they go to see Uman for reasons I forgot, but they just go to see him.
Johnny's father. He describes himself as
like
Johnny's.
He created Keats.
Okay. No, the Keats hybrid, not the original Keats.
Yeah. Yeah.
They engage into this beautiful conversation.
So Uman is actually the one who teaches his grandfather. That's great. I'm gonna put that in my headcanon now. Thank you for later.
So I'll read you a bit of how Uman's for the listeners, how Uman's talks, and then I'll put like a clip from the audiobook, which you should listen, Sam, for the fans like you, Sam. You should listen to a bit of the audiobook how Uman talks.
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, do it.
I don't know you listen to audiobooks much, but we do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So Uman says, for example, to understand the central truth / Buddha / God nature, in this instance, the less enlightened must understand that on Earth / your homeworld / my homeworld, humankind on the most populated continent once used pieces of wood for toilet paper. Only with this knowledge will the Buddha / truth be revealed. Quotes. How do you
Quotes.
pronounce quotes? How do you say this?
That's the way he laughs. Apparently, that's the representation
like
of
Bazinga or
Uman's
something.
laughter, which is like, what a choice.
So he gives you the truth in a way to laugh at human stupidity wrapped up in Zen code, Buddhistic wisdom, with references to mythology, Japanese history, random keywords from literature, poetry, and mostly Japan sometimes. And because we live in Japan, I have some wisdom to impose on you, because there might be things you don't know that we do know.
I mean, I would assume Mr. Simmons would insist he has studied Asian cultures, and therefore this is a very faithful recreation of that. I have my doubts.
I think he would say he's an expert.
Yeah, he would say he's an expert. I would have my doubts, which makes it all the funnier to me.
Which he says that Uman, the name is like a name of a Zen monk, something. But I like to believe that it's based on a place in Japan that's called Uman. And it's a place famous for producing matcha. It's very good quality. Ooh. But anyway, at one point he also says, a lesser light also asked Uman, what is the meaning of Darumas coming from the west? And Uman answered, we see the mountain in the sun. And believe it or not, I have the answer to what this means.
Please.
Enlighten us.
Paolo, enlighten us. What is Daruma? What is a Daruma in Japan?
Daruma is like a small, kind of like, not a toy, but it's like this small round, like figurine.
It's like a cute head kind of character.
With like very weird figures. Yeah.
And it doesn't have eyes painted.
Yeah.
So you're more qualified, Paolo. What happens with the eyes? I'm not sure I say it correctly.
I don't know. I have no idea, actually.
Oh, so I thought it was that. So you get this as a gift from somebody in Japan as a tradition. Yeah. And you have this character face thing, and it's missing one eye. And there's like a black dot in the other eye. And you're supposed to, I don't know if the person who gets it decides or the person who gives it decide, but you're supposed to set a goal. And when you finish or accomplish this goal, you paint the second eye and you put it on this plate and you're like, I did it. That's supposed to be the thing. Is that correct, Paolo?
Sure.
I'm not less
I
confused.
So this is like a Japanese tradition.
Sure.
Moreover, there's a mountain in Japan. It's called Daruma.
There is a mountain, yes.
And you can
Today
climb
is mountain
Daruma,
day.
And there is a special place that people go to visit to see the sunrise on Daruma, and the sun rises over Daruma. So, a lesser light asked Uman, what is the meaning of Darumas coming from the west? Daruma is in the east. It's not coming from the west. What is the meaning of that? And the answer, we see the mountains in the sun, is a direct reference to all of this, because the sun is rising over the Daruma mountain, and when it finally rises over the mountain, you have achieved your goal, your point. You have succeeded in life to see the sun, which is what you wanted to achieve, thus understanding the meaning of everything and giving purpose to your life. Then you can paint this eye on this doll, and you will finally see what Uman is saying. And what he is saying, in fact, is that the Lesserite is dumb because he's asking dumb questions. That's what this all means. I'm 100% sure.
That's interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I had no idea.
This I hopefully serves as an example to the listeners that this is every single line that Uman says you can extrapolate to this extent. Long story short, it's nonsense. This is, But okay, let's talk about these AIs. So there is the human AI.
Yeah.
And then there is a bunch of other AIs. What are they? How many?
Billions?
I mean, that's not clear, but
Yeah.
it's not so important.
Too many.
Yeah.
One of them is the human evolved something AI of 3 parts, which one part is empathy.
Oh, no.
No,
Yeah.
Oh my
you're
God.
confusing with
Oh my God.
the ultimate intelligence,
Right.
which
There's
is not
the
a computer.
human ultimate intelligence, which is the
Yeah.
trinity, the classic trinity of empathy.
Excuse
and-
me, I confused the ultimate
Yeah.
intelligence
The void
with the
that
AI intelligence.
binds, and
Yeah.
and then there's the AI ultimate intelligence, which is not 3 parts and has not yet existed. They're trying to create.
So let me
Yeah.
start over. There are AIs, whatever, and then there are the UIs, ultimate intelligence.
Yes.
There is
It's not human interface, but
So there is the
a user
UI
interface.
AI, and there is the HUI AI, which is the human ultimate intelligence, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Is there any other ultimate intelligence other
No,
than
only
these two?
two.
No, no other 2.
Thank God.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
No, they are the gods. Yes.
No, thank.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we should say that the Technocore is based into the Farcasters. So basically, the
Yes.
network of Farcasters, the interconnected space is how the AIs, the Technocore even runs and exists.
It's kind of more. I mean, yes, but the Farcaster itself runs through this part of the universe called the Void Which Binds, that they call it, which
Yeah.
is like that. So the Farcaster runs through there, and the AIs live inside that Void Which Binds, that like weird in between nether region of the universe. And the Farcaster provides them shelter within that, is how I sort of understood it.
Yeah.
Now,
that makes
again,
sense.
Yeah.
I could very much be wrong, but they talked about how there are other creatures and other things also in that same void, which they were avoiding and stuck to their known cities within the Farcaster network. So, like, the Farcasters represent the cities and communities they built within that void of the universe.
Yeah. And also they were using human brains as
Exactly.
essentially the
Computational
computing power to,
Yeah.
to run their own computers.
So does this happen only when a person is traveling through the Farcaster?
No. My understanding,
My understanding is yes.
So
but-
I think there's both. So I think when they had the implants from comlinks installed in
Oh,
their
that
head,
makes sense. Okay. Wish you could see Danielle's expression for the listeners.
she is completely blank.
I'm thinking so hard. I'm trying
I
to
feel the
remember
same.
everything I know.
I feel
Or,
the
or
same,
maybe
don't
it's
worry.
just an AI using your brain.
Oh,
That's quite
no.
possible.
That could be it. Yeah, while you're passing through an AI briefly. You know what? That's way cooler. If you get like possessed briefly while you're, I don't know if that's right or not, but that's in my head.
It felt meditative while you guys were talking.
You can. Feel free. Just meditate on us and then tell us what it all means. So, the Technocore is constructing this ultimate intelligence. Meanwhile, they're using the brain power of people. Meanwhile, there is another UI, like ultimate intelligence, that emerges from the brain power of people
Yeah.
and somehow starts to exist.
Yes. God from the machine, sort of. But we are the machine.
And it consists of 3 parts. Part A I forgot, part 2 forgot, and part 3 is empathy.
Well, there's the void which binds. We talked about that. So that ultimate intelligence is important. Part of it is the void that the AIs exist in.
Exactly. So what is part 1 and 2? Does anybody know?
So there's the void.
And
There's empathy, the void which binds, and I think it was like intelligence or something. It's like logic, some kind
Okay.
of reasoning thing.
it's something.
Yeah, some other nebulous concept.
The AI, Technocore Human included, fights this other AI, which I shall call HUI AI.
Does
It's
it?
HUI. What?
Okay.
Does it? Yeah, there's a battle. There's a battle, I'm
I
sure.
thought the battle was between the because isn't the UI
Yeah, between the
machine
two
UI
ultimate
destroys
intelligence.
That's what
all
I
the
mean.
AIs.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
confusing.
Not
Yeah,
Uman.
yeah.
Uman's dead
Yeah.
by that time.
Yeah,
Uman's
Uman is
already
dead.
died. It's full
Yeah,
guy,
but
I
they're
miss him already.
fighting like in the far flung future
Right.
of a grim dark universe.
Right.
So
the
the-
ultimate intelligences are fighting each other.
So the
Yeah.
UI fights the HUI, the human
Yeah.
UI.
The MUI, the machine or AUI, fights the HUI.
MUI is
The HUI
is
and
like-
the AUI or the MUI.
MUI is giving it hard to the HUI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
MUI to Huey. Let's do that.
And
Yeah.
the empathetic part of the HUI is like, nope, I'm out. And it escapes back in time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now the...
Becomes kids.
Okay,
Well,
so we should talk about this. This is like the theory what actually happens. But
it's so stupid.
So the HUI is the MUI.
Yeah.
It's not any clearer in the book, friends.
So the MUI is now kind of in power because the HUI escaped.
Yeah.
But also not. Because, like, it can't fight the HUI. It's like, I can't fight you until you're all here together. And so they put their little war on pause so they can go bring empathy back to their fight.
So inside the like HUI, inside of this, inside of the Technocore,
yeah,
and the UIs and AIs and whatever, they have all these volatiles and stables and all this, which is brought up and then dismissed and not talked about again. Not important.
Yeah,
but they want to destroy the HUI, and they also want to kind of destroy people because they're done with people, kind of.
Yeah,
so that's why they start attacking the web network, the web, what is it called?
Yeah,
web.
that's why they're faking the ouster attacks.
So it's revealed, plot twist number 1, that it's not the ousters attacking the web, what is it called, web 1, web 5.0.
The world web.
World web, yes.
It's WW. We're missing that third W.
Yes. So it's not the ousters attacking the world web. It's the UIs, the AIs, UIs, Technocore people that are not people. So
yeah.
Now, what this all means. So I have a theory. I want to ask what you think.
Oh, I'm excited.
So Paolo asked me, what the hell is the Shrike doing? What does it want?
What's the purpose?
What's the purpose? Who is the Shrike even working for? What do you think? Like, is the Shrike with the AIs? Is the Shrike with the UIs? Is the Shrike with the HUIs, MUIs, or the ousters? Is it something completely different? What do you think?
Danielle, why don't you go first?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. Strike's my favorite character, but I cannot tell you why, what he's doing. I don't know.
Because he kills people.
Why is he your favorite character? Let's start there, because I want to hear this.
I don't know. I think because there's so little known, as is common to me. I tend to like characters more when I don't know anything about them.
That's fair.
I don't know. I just think I like the mystery surrounding him. I like that he feels like he's got all this depth of character and things that are going on, but you have no idea what any of those things actually are or how they tie into anything. And I don't know if more is explored in the third and fourth book.
That's my question.
He comes back. He comes back in a big way.
But is anything explained?
No.
That I don't know.
No.
I don't remember if anything's explained.
No.
Because in the synopsis of book 3, it says the secret of the Shrike will be finally and forever finally revealed. The writer says on the book.
It's not true.
So here's the thing I think about. I think in the book they mentioned this. Who the Shrike is working for, whether it was sent back by the MUI or the Huey. Yeah, I'm going to stick with it. You can't stop me. Can't stop me. That is sort of like up in the air. That's sort of the mystery of the Shrike. And so the ousters want to release the Shrike or do something with the Shrike because they think that's going to help them destroy the Technocore. And the Technocore doesn't know what the Shrike is because they can't, it's the variable, Hyperion variable, that they can't work into their calculations. So the whole thing is the Shrike is supposed to be mysterious. You're never supposed to know who it's working for, what its purpose is. It's just supposed to be this sort of implacable, menacing force that has motivations beyond our understandings, and we're never quite sure whose side is it on.
Okay, that's all very good, but then I have a question. Why is there an army of Shrikes, and why is Kassad fighting an army of Shrikes?
Yeah, why were there more? Sam, why were there more?
Again, I don't remember this from the book, is there's a whole like a debate going whether, so I'm pretty sure the Shrike was sent back by the MUI. And whether it was, what exactly it was supposed to do is the question. And like the machine sent it back in time. We know that, I believe. And the question was, do they send back all the Shrikes or not? And so there had to be this big battle between all the future humans that were like ouster kind of people and all the Shrikes. And if the humans won, they'd only send one Shrike back. Otherwise, they would send back just all the Shrikes. And I don't know why. Why was that agreed upon? Like, who's like, we're going to have a little pre-battle to determine what kind of battle we're going to have back in time. Like, so they built them all. They said, okay, they're ready to go back. If you can beat us in an arm wrestling contest, we send back all the strikes or not. Like, that's all I got.
Yeah, but besides this, because, okay, even if we accept this, then my question would be, if you look at, like, the actions, one thing that I'm way too lazy to do, but that would be really funny to do is take all of the actions that the Shrike takes from the first book until the fourth book and try to find like a common thread. And there is absolutely nothing. Like nothing.
I was trying, and I have a theory on that. But
okay, please.
Nonsense.
Please.
So there is one point that we didn't discuss, that the thorn tree of pain impels people to show pain. And it's somehow connected to the MUI trying to lure out the empathy side of the HUI.
Yes. So, I don't know, Paolo, you want to handle this one?
No. Please, go ahead.
Okay. So, the empathy part flees back in time. They don't know where to find it, and they can't finish their battle because even if the MUI won and killed the two parts of the HUI, I'm sticking with it. You can't stop me. I see your eyes rolling. It would never win completely because the empathy part of the human UI would still be somewhere back in time. So exactly. They have to reunite the Trinity to finish the battle. And they both agree on that point for some reason. So the AIs cook up this plan to draw out the empathy portion by giving it a vessel, by making something that would compel it to reveal itself. And they talk about like how Jesus was one manifestation of this empathy part back in time at one point.
Oh my God.
And I'm not going to get into that because they're going to move right past that. Just going to go really quickly to sail past. I don't want to. That's dangerous territory. I'm going to skim right by that. But the plan they settle on is basically to maximize this human suffering by causing all these humans to be suffered internally, to make empathy be like, oh, I'm empathetic for that, and then to give it a vessel of empathy, which would be Keats, who was, according to the author, the most empathetic person in history.
Because
who was a tragic poet who had a lot of humanity, but died young with unrequited love, or basically able to fulfill his love to Fanny, right? Or Franny.
Yeah, Fanny.
Yeah, so they created the Keats hybrids to give it a vessel to occupy, and they caused the Tree of Pain, and as the tree goes back in time, it's accumulating more people, and so at a certain point there's enough pain on it, and the Keats hybrid is there, the empathy would find shelter inside the Keats hybrid, but the AI is screwed up because they forgot about the human factor of love or something, and that means that they couldn't actually successfully bring out the human UI or the empathy part of it, and so that's why Keats is not actually the empathy UI. That comes later with the one who teaches.
Yeah.
The premise is, like you said, they are trying to lure out the empathy. UI.
That is. You think that is convoluted and complicated? Try reading that in a 500-page book and piecing that together.
Exactly. For this concept, I think the Shrike was created by the MUI and sent whichever direction in time you want to choose, whatever. And it was trying to cause as much pain as suffering because it's the Lord of Pain and it's just killing people left and right and just being a menace, and that's supposed to lure out the UI empathy.
Yeah.
Okay, then
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, I have a question. So, why does it give the cruciform to Father Dure? How does it serve its purpose? Okay.
Oh, they said something in the book. They said that they. So yes, this is explained. I know.
Okay, please.
The MUIs designed the cruciform and the Shrike to give the cruciform to people so they can have recycled brain voice.
Yes.
That people, without people, like normal people and humanity, so they can have their brain power without the nonsense of being people.
Okay, yeah.
This all ties into the labyrinths.
Okay, yes. But I'm not saying why he gave the cruciform in general. Why he gave the cruciform to Father Dure? Because if you read the third and fourth book, this was a terrible mistake.
He does that because the Shrike is a scamp. He's just screwing around. He likes to have fun.
And that might also be explained by my theory in the third and fourth book, because I believe that this all started, and the Shrike was sent, and then Kassad battles the Shrike. We didn't say this. He has like a super ultimate battle with him and Moneta fighting the Shrike.
Yeah.
And it's very stretched out, and super weapons and sex, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And he kind of like kills the Shrike, but kind of doesn't. And I thought the whole time there was one Shrike, but whatever.
No, there was an army of Shrikes for some reason.
I thought it was just the Shrike being like, projecting
multiplied through like time or something.
It's like Dragon Ball, like it's
too.
moving so fast.
I'm with you.
Have like
I thought it was literally just him being through cyberspace projecting to his brain or something.
No, I'm pretty sure they're like, we have a bunch of Shrikes, but we won't use them unless we can win a battle against Kassad.
Yeah.
So after this whole fight, there is a point where Kassad like weakens the Shrike kind of significantly, somehow hurts it. And then he dies. And he's buried in a tomb as a revered hero and sent back in time or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the reason he's the hero, even though he didn't accomplish shit because he didn't kill the Shrike, is because
he won the battle.
Well, he didn't, because the Shrike is still okay.
No, but the army of Shrikes weren't sent back. Only one
army.
was.
Yeah.
So the point was, if he won the battle, they would only send back one Shrike instead of the whole army of Shrikes.
Yeah. But he didn't win the battle.
He won.
He did. That's why there's only one Shrike.
Yeah. But then he got killed.
Yeah, I mean, he won. Like, the battle was won, but he died.
Yeah. He led the whole army of future humanity. Again, so confusing.
Okay, but still doesn't change my theory.
Okay, great, perfect.
Whatever happened there, he got somehow a chance to get his upper hand on the Shrike, and he was working with the Ousters. The Ousters are somehow in cahoots with the HUAI empathy part. Somehow.
Okay.
We don't know that yet. And
sure.
They somehow gain control over the Shrike by using the powers of the void that binds or whatever.
Is that your theory?
Yes, so since this point the Shrike was doing completely different things. Until this point it was trying to inflict as much pain and lure out the HUAI. But after this point it started stopping the plans of the MUI because everything it did after this, I don't know when that is in this time nonsense, but supposedly it makes sense. So after this point, it went back in time and it helped Lamia to be with because it impaled her neck and it connected her to the cyberspace, and it kind of helped to destroy the one Keats.
Well, the reason it might have done that was to help draw out the empathy portion.
But yes and no, so it could be both ways.
It's all ambiguous.
It wanted to, in my theory, it wanted to get rid of the Keats because they don't want to be lured out and be in the thing. And then the other time the Shrike was watching the other Keats die, the HUAI, in my theory, wanted to make sure that this dies off and they don't have to bother with that. And then it was trying to carry away the child, but it already knew that Moneta would be the child and they would somehow plan that and Moneta would come back.
Oh yeah, Moneta
this is the theory.
So Moneta, well, we know that Moneta isn't the child.
Yeah, Moneta is the child.
Moneta is Rachel.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Rachel.
it's Rachel.
I mean,
yeah,
that's what I meant. Of course.
Oh, not Lamia's child. Okay,
then why does he say, like, not say, but basically help Father Duray to get off Hyperion and back to the World Web?
I haven't thought about that, but I'm sure I can find something.
Yeah, sure, please. I mean,
see, this is why I think people love this book, because they can go like, I don't know what this makes sense, but I'm going to make it make sense.
Because the original plan of the MUIs was to have the cruciforms have brain-dead people power the MUIs, have their brain power. Father Duray is the only person who's gone through that and hasn't gone brain-dead, thus being able to resist this plan and be a person, even though he has the cruciform. Well, a little bit. He's resisting
and again,
it,
if you know what happens in the third and fourth book, that doesn't make sense.
No spoilers. I can't.
Okay, that falls apart a little bit. Yeah.
Look, I love your theory. I don't think it's right. I think it's great though. It makes
plausible.
Yeah, it makes way more sense. The fact that it can even be plausible from these two books just shows you how convoluted they are.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we can move on from the AIs.
Can we talk a minute here about Mina Gladstone? Because she's great.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to mention, I love that she is like, I have all this power, I have all this knowledge, and she's doing all these stuff, and her final decision is, screw it, just blow everything up. And I'm like, yeah, Mina, blow it up.
I like when she takes her 30-minute nap.
Yes, I was about to say that.
She's
Every
like,
time.
I'm going to take a nap because plot requires that I take a nap.
It's so good. Oh, it's the best. That's all I want to say.
Even though this is a terrible time to take a nap.
So she's fighting the war with the Austers, then she finds out she's fighting the war with the AIs, and then she finds out that the AIs in the Farcasters, so she's like, fuck it, destroy the Farcasters, the end of the world now.
Yeah, and they had like the super bomb.
Oh, right, the death
like,
wand.
Death wand.
And kill everyone.
Yeah.
So the death wand is supposed to destroy nervous systems only of people that are not animals or something.
Yeah, it's supposed to like it's like a bioweapon that destroys biological things, just people, and they claimed it would only destroy ousters or humans or something, and that people could be safe in the labyrinths, but we know that's not true.
Also, one thing we didn't mention is that at some point there's like a mention of essentially a multiverse. Because
yes, sure. I'm getting to that at the end. Oh my god. So
oh man, the voices from the Void Which Binds, love it.
So the voices from the voice that the void that binds probably also destroy the fat line, so it stops squirting.
Well, so the fat line also traveled through the void, and basically the Void Which Binds says,
squeers through the void.
Stop running a highway through my backyard. You know, it's like no longer, it like disrupts the medium in some way that the technologies no longer work. It's like if someone jammed all our radio communications.
So now we have a world where everything is chaos.
Yeah.
Gladstone just has herself killed herself. What the hell?
Yep. She's torn apart by a mob. Love it.
Yeah, she just gave up because she can't live with what she's done. And the Farcaster's gone, the fat line doesn't work, all the worlds are now the outer world because they are not connected, nobody has nothing, the toilet is gone, and the house that's half in the place.
You forgot that the console in all of this was going through a trial for some reason, because the ousters were like, it seems like the best moment to have a trial.
Well, the ousters don't really care about the hegemony in their war.
We skip the part where the console flies a magic carpet to get his ship, crashes, doesn't get there, gets rescued by the ousters.
Wait, you forgot that when he crashes, like he gets taken by bandits.
Danielle's favorite part.
And he's like, I'll give you gold. And they're like, oh, the world is ending, but we can get gold? Wow. Then we should definitely keep this guy alive.
So, we get to this part where Keats finally dies.
Yes.
For tuberculosis.
Well, which Keats?
8 chapters later, he finally dies.
Oh, the one back on Earth, not the other Keats or the virtual Keats. Okay.
No.
Not Johnny.
Not Johnny, the virtual Keats ghost, because he's still flying around.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember what happened to Keats. I remember what happened to him.
Exactly.
That Keats is so good. Oh, we'll get to that.
Yes. So Keats dies, and he is the reason that everybody learns that the Technocore is like living inside of the Farcaster network. That's why CEO Gladstone knows that, because Keats talked to her through her dream like a cyber ghost or something.
During her nap, let's be clear.
Very important, very necessary
the naps paid
nap.
off. They paid off.
The world is ending. I'm going to take a nap.
I think the lesson here is naps are great and we should take more naps.
Yeah, I can get behind it.
I'm all in favor of napping.
So when Keats dies, he doesn't disappear or whatever. He becomes like a super cyber being somehow. He's like the Force Ghost.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he starts
he becomes like an AI. He inhabits the void which binds, basically.
Okay.
His spirit inhabits the void which binds, which is bonkers.
And he keeps referencing the Wizard of Oz again.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, oh, there's the void that binds, but oh no, there are tigers, lions, and bears.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the other entities that live in the void which binds.
Yeah, I had to look up what this was because I haven't seen the Wizard of Oz, believe it or not.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't know actually until you said it now.
Oh, yeah. No.
Like we Europeans, we don't have Wizard of Oz as much as you guys.
Hey, that's fair. It's a fun movie. It's a weird book too.
Better book.
Yeah, we should
The
read
book
at
is
some point,
insane. It's really dark.
Yeah. So what happens? Ghost just like talks to people in dreams.
So he does a bunch of stuff. He tells Gladstone stuff. She blows to the forecaster. Back on Hyperion, though, finally Saul Weintraub has given his baby to the Shrike, given Rachel to the Shrike to take back to the Shrike's nebulous purposes. But Force Ghost Keats will not stand for that.
Yep.
And so he sees the Shrike moving, back through time or forward through time as it traverses the Sphinx time tomb, and is like, I will go in there. And he briefly manages to delay the Shrike long enough that future Rachel, as Moneta, can come and rescue her baby self from the Shrike and return her baby form to her father, cured of the Merlin sickness, so that her father can then take her back to the future, to humanity's future, and raise her with the future humanity so she can be sent back in time with the Shrike again. Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you for saying
sense. All perfectly logical, nothing wrong, airtight.
Exactly.
How do you not love this book? It's the best part of the whole book.
Right? This is what I'm talking about. And then Force Ghost Keats is like, job done. Hey, there's a spaceship with enough computing power to hold my consciousness. I'm going to go live in that spaceship for the rest of eternity.
So after Keats' cyber ghost saves the child, the Shrike appears to kill Lamia or somebody, then turns into crystals and breaks and dies.
Oh, right. So
what is going on?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
So before that,
somebody explain this to me.
So before that, Bron Lamia,
Bramia, it's fine.
frees Martin Silenus from the spike on the tree of pain.
So this is the thing. No one's on the spikes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are. It's just Matrix.
She goes to find him, but she goes into the Crystal Palace.
No, the Shrike's Palace.
One of the Shrike Palace. And it's basically like the Matrix. There are just a bunch of people on slabs hooked up virtually, and they are virtually being impaled on the Tree of Pain. They're not actually being impaled on the Tree of Pain. Why? Don't want to ask questions. This is the fact. And so she frees Martin.
I have a question, though.
Okay.
Like the book, to my recollection, maybe it's not correct. The book describes Martin being taken by the Shrike and being impaled on the tree, correct?
Yeah.
So did he get plugged in?
Yeah, I think so.
Just
Yeah.
a millisecond? He has no recollection of it?
Or they break out his memory, they manipulate his mind or memory or whatever.
Okay.
But why was Silenus able to see the future?
Did you see?
Don't ask.
Look, there's time travel shenanigans so much in this book. Well, I can't explain all of them.
I was hoping the answer would be poetry, but
Yes, by the power of pain and poetry.
So Braun rescues and unplugs Martin
By karate chopping the plug.
by chopping the best part.
Yes.
Because she's
So dumb.
from that
Lusus.
Candle.
the planet which is extra strong.
Yeah, Lusus, and so she's like Goku, who has been training on King Kaio's planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so dumb. Oh my god, so dumb. Because I hate this. I hate Lamia.
So good. And so I don't know why she's like, all the other people suffering, they can just keep suffering. I'm going to save Martin because he's the person most worthy of being saved.
Exactly.
And so she saves Martin, and the Shrike is like, I'm here to spook you. And she's like, nah, I turn you into glass and push you over. And later...
Before she does, she walks on thin air.
Yeah, they both walk on air, and then she turns the Shrike into glass, pushes him over, and he shatters. But he's not really dead. He comes back. Don't worry about it. It's like a Marvel death. It doesn't really matter.
At this point this happened, I was horrified that it would be revealed that they were all in the Matrix at this point.
That would be so much fun. Oh, yeah.
It was all a dream.
After they revealed, exactly. I was so worried because after they revealed that Silenus wasn't actually impaled and it's all virtual reality, I was like, oh no, this is all gonna be virtual reality now. And it's gonna be levels of it, and we are all living in the MUI, HUI worlds, and it's. But no,
That's the fourth book.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to answer your question about how she did that with the glass, she didn't. Her fetus used power.
No.
Yep.
Wrong.
So at the end, It talks about how, like, you know, the one who teaches has certain power as a messiah, essentially, and how well some liberties were taken to grant some power to the mother of the one who teaches in that moment to preserve the one who teaches. Does that make sense?
Total cop-out.
Nope.
No.
But is it funny? Yes. My magic fetus saved my life. Help me turn the shark to glass. Magic fetus.
I have to mention my favorite moment. There's
Please.
a guy called Arundis.
Mario.
Emilio. He was in love with Rachel, and then he got a wife and
His
children.
poor family.
Yeah, right?
And then at this point where, Weintraub is about to go through the portal and take Rachel as a fetus to go up, he's like, oh, I'm gonna like hide my photos of my wife. I'm very curious about, Rachel growing up. So I'll go with you.
No.
Does he
Do you remember that part?
Did he go
he
with them?
asks if he can go with them.
And
he
they say
asks
no,
for it.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But he wants to. He
Right.
wants to desert
Yes.
his entire family,
Exactly.
his kids, his wife, and
Exactly.
go live with Rachel.
To be fair, he has deserted them already because he is trapped on Hyperion. The Farcaster is gone. He has
Okay,
no
but,
way to get back to his
like-
family.
Damn.
Yeah.
Emilio.
It's like, score! Rachel!
Damn. I couldn't believe what he said.
He carries the biggest torch for Rachel. So context. They dated when they were in college together just before she got her sickness and started aging backwards. Obviously, he could not date a child, although I'm sure he might not have had problems with that. It's unfortunate and weird. But he carries a torch for her throughout the entire book and keeps popping up randomly like, hey, I'm still in love with Rachel.
Yeah.
How's she doing?
I have a wife and children, but
Yes. I
They
was like,
Yeah.
what?
don't matter.
I was trying to think so hard. Why would the writer bring this up at this point? Why at all? Why at this point? Why would it mean anything? Why? Dan Simmons, why you do this? I don't...
I feel like there's a Buddhist meditation here because, like, it's not about the why. You got to sort of release,
Okay.
you got to let go of the things that tether you to this plane of desire
Okay.
to reach nirvana.
Okay.
I think it was true to character for
Yeah,
Emilio.
that's true.
Okay, thank you.
there's also we forgot to mention, there is another tomb which has a portal and no one understands where the portal leads, and actually leads to the Colosseum, like a Colosseum in Rome. Yeah,
Right,
like on real
at Earth.
Earth. So that
So there are a bunch of portals
Yeah,
that
yeah,
open
yeah.
up in the time tunes. And one of them leads to the future and lets people through it occasionally, like Rachel and Saul. And one of them leads to Rome and lets people through on occasion to have them repopulate Earth. And one of them leads to other planets with labyrinths for reasons that are unclear.
So we skip in time after all this happens in the book, and I like how suddenly it's been a few months, they say, and everything's fine and dandy and life's good now after everything exploded.
yeah, they're building a giant face of Marina Gladstone.
They're doing a Mount Rushmore. It's great.
Everybody's like, yeah, people are dying, they can't connect, economy's collapsing, but yeah, it's kind of fine. We like it. It's fine. We're rebuilding. Okay. Meanwhile, the cyber ghost, Keats, whatever being, it just starts spewing poetry just for fun out of a terminal of a ship of the console. And then we learn that love is in the warp and woof of things. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, I told you. It's the one thing the AIs couldn't figure out and why they could never succeed in trapping the empathy because they didn't understand love.
Yes.
I'd rather be watching The Fifth Element.
So I had to look up what is like warp and woof of things. So now I know. Did you? Is it like a phrase you say like a lot in your
No.
life?
No. Yeah, tell us what it actually means.
So the essential like foundation or structure of anything, or to be specific, weaving. The warp is the threads that run lengthwise, and the woof is the threads that lie on across to make up a fabric or some space or some kind of structure. So you can say such things. There is an example in the dictionary. It says, the Constitution and Declaration of Independence are the warp and woof of the American nation.
If only that were true.
You can say that. You can say lots of things, I guess.
So yes, that's like one of the ending regards. I was just dead after this book. I couldn't deal with this.
Would it have been better if you had ended this book with another song from The Wizard of Oz?
I mean, at this point, yes. I think so.
So it ended... Yeah, I was waiting for it kind of because it ended with the song Over the Rainbow. They did that one.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, okay.
But so I thought there would be another ending with another song.
It's not good,
But
Sam.
there wasn't. I'm disappointed.
It's hilarious. You gotta give me that at least.
So before we end, do we have anything else to say about this?
I think everyone, if you're gonna read this book, get a group of people together like this, have a book club, read together so you can have this kind of discussion. Like, I think I get the most joy from this book, not from reading it, but from just discussing it.
That's true.
These conversations we've had here are so much fun. And I know, it's just a great excuse to get together and talk a bunch of nonsense with people. So if you feel like that's something you could like convince some of your friends to do or trick them into it if you feel like devious, I'd say go for it.
It's the next level because some people do this with bad movies, but if you actually read this 500 pages, it's mind-bogglingly like you just your brain just keeps saying things. You can't stop it. Just so much. This is definitely a fitting book for the Mind Duck podcast. I feel very mind ducked again, and I would like to thank you so much. It was amazing to talk to you. And to end this on a very bad and a very appropriate note, I'd like to read you a poem that I have written.
Yay! Oh, you wrote it. You've become the thing you've hated most.
And I'm not sure how accurate this is because I wasn't able to distinguish between datum planes, megaspheres, metaspheres,
The megasphere, please.
Is it a megasphere or metasphere? Both. Is there a metasphere or both? Yes, both.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Name a sphere.
2 in 1.
There's one there.
Okay. Datum plane, megasphere, shrike, impaled a poet on a spike. Silenus, fatline, squirt. Lamia has a short skirt. Technocore, cybrid, Uman. Silenus arrived? Come on. Love is the warp and woof of things. This was worse than Jar Jar Binks.
Okay.
So thank you for suffering through that. And I think we should end here. Thank you so much for joining us on this wild Hyperion ride. We've made it. We might make it through the third one and fourth one, but as you might expect, I need a break. And to do just that, on the next episode, we're going to do something very light-hearted, and Chan's going to come back and help me relax while we read a book called Marked by PC Cast. It's the first in the House of Night series, and it was something to behold. So rate us on Apple Podcasts, join us on Spotify, and see you on the next episode.